Hey everyone, I'm Mike Marza with your daily update in the race for New York City Mayor. In a brand new poll showing Zohran Mamdani with a large lead with just 8 weeks to go. According to the New York Times Siena College poll, if the election were held today, 46% of respondents said that they would vote for Mr. Mamdani. That's compared to 24% for Andrew Cuomo, 15% for Curtis Sliwa, and 9% for incumbent Mayor Adams. Of course, all of the talk over the past couple of weeks has been whether Adams and Sliwa will even stay in this race or perhaps drop out, making way for a one-on-one matchup between a possible Mamdani and Cuomo race. And according to the New York Times and Siena poll, that would be a very tight race one-on-one. In this hypothetical scenario, Mamdani maintaining only a 4-point lead, which was almost within the margin of error. But today, Adams and Sliwa again reiterated that they have no plans to step aside.
I mean, this is like deja vu. Didn't we hear this before? Didn't we hear before that he's the best person to beat Mamdani? We heard that. We saw these same polls. You know, I'm amazed that we're using the same evidence to drive home the case that we used before, and we saw what the results are. You know, when you're running against a young, energetic candidate that is willing to walk from one tip of Manhattan to the other, that has the energy, you need someone with that energy, and you have to match it, and you have to really energize the voters. And so it doesn't surprise me that after spending $35 million, he's where he is. Now it's my opportunity to spend my money and get my message out.
I owe it to my supporters not to renege on the commitment they made to me. And Andrew Cuomo, again, I can't say it enough times, is a snake and a liar. So now you have Eric Adams saying it, you have Curtis Sliwa. So maybe people are going to come to the conclusion that Curtis Sliwa and Eric Adams never agree on anything, but they agree on who this Andy Cuomo is, a snake and a liar, and he is behind all these rumors and innuendos. I can only speak on behalf of me. I trust the people to make the right decision. We'll see what decision they make on November 4th. I've just begun my campaign.
It's going to wind up practically being a two-person race, and that you're going to see support for the less viable candidates drop off because people are going to believe the choices between myself and Mamdani, which is what happened in the primary, right? There were a number of candidates in the race, and the support for those dropped and went to either myself or the assemblyman. I think the same will happen in the general election. I don't know what decisions Mr. Adams and Mr. Sliwa make in the interim, but that's up to them.
So much to unpack with this new poll. So joining me now, political analyst Hank Sheinkopf. Hank, always great to see you.
Thank you.
So what do you make of the new poll?
Not the best day that anybody ever had except for Mamdani, quite frankly. He looks like a big winner. But, you know, you have to take this in the following way. He is the Democratic candidate, and this is a Democratic Party city. And right now, he looks like the winner because he is the Democratic Party nominee.
And we've had this discussion before, but if it was a matchup between, you know, one other candidate in this scenario, it would be Cuomo and Mamdani, you do see how the dynamic would change pretty dramatically. But with these reports being printed and talked about, and then you have Adams and Sliwa vehemently denying or saying they're not going to step out of the race, what do you make of how we're now 8 weeks away? You see what could happen with a one-on-one matchup, but it seems like as of right now, you're not going to get that.
Well, who knows what will happen? You know, the wonderful thing about New York politics is something insane always happens in every mayoral race that's unexpected, that changes the dynamic. A one-on-one race, Mamdani likely loses. Why? They're even up by numbers, but it depends on the kind of effort that's put into it. You know, we have a long way to go. 8 weeks in politics is akin to several centuries in anything else.
If you were advising the Mamdani camp tonight, what would you be telling him to do?
Don't make any mistakes. Don't say anything stupid. Try to be smart. and be very careful what you say about like the things he said on this past Saturday at Brooklyn College, where he said he wouldn't intervene. He'd assured the police would not intervene in campus demonstrations, which kind of means beat up the Jews. You can't do these kinds of things. You got to somehow step back, be more judicious, be careful about what you say about cops and about crime. That's an issue that can swing elections.
There have been some invitations out there. We know Cuomo challenged Mamdani to a debate in every borough, and Mamdani resisting that. He mentioned maybe doing a couple of debates. But do you think Mamdani at this point even needs to debate?
Mamdani should not be in a position tactically where he can have a glove laid on him. He should smooth himself and kind of ride this out any way he can and not make any errors. He's in the lead right now. If he makes an error, he could lose the race. The error would be getting into a confrontation he doesn't need to get into. The error would be showing himself to be radical. The error would be coming up with wild ideas about policing. He's trying to back off from some of the things he's said over the years, or supported, like defunding and taking apart the police department. These are all things he's going to have to deal with, but he's got to deal with them in a way he can control. If the opponents take him apart, he's going to have a problem.
Former Governor Cuomo today mentioned that he believes he still has a strong position, even if these other candidates stay in the race. Do you agree with him?
He certainly does have a strong position. Why? Because he's Governor Andrew Cuomo, because he's well-known, because his father is well-known. His father was revered by some portions of the population, particularly blacks and people, I don't like the word Latino, but Latinos. And that gives him something to start to work with. And Eric Adams has a strong position, too. He can point to his record on reducing crime, on creating jobs and housing. So it's not a done deal yet, but you know what? Long way to go between here and there.
It's interesting. We talk about some of these endorsements that have happened. We know Congressman Espaillat here in New York he originally endorsed all of them at some point, but most recently Mamdani. And, his point is it's common sense. He's a Democrat and he's supporting the Democratic candidate. But as we know, because this is such a unique year in that way, where you have essentially 3 Democratic candidates running, how do you assess what could change? Because if you look at these polls, and the one that we're talking about today with the Siena College and New York Times, that's a sizable gap. Do you think it's just because of the muddled field at this point, and as we get closer, people will truly kind of make up their minds on which of the 3 quote-unquote Democratic candidates they would support?
It is a muddled field. It will depend to some extent on what, again, the insane thing that always happens in New York mayoral races. But there's something else to remember, too. Endorsements don't matter. If they did, then I guess Andrew Cuomo would be the Democratic Party nominee because he had the endorsements coming into this primary. What will matter is the street operation, how many doors you hit, how many phone calls you make, and how many hands you touch. That's the difference. And Mamdani did very well with that in the primary. We talked about it, I believe, on Up Close previously. That's the difference here. Who's got the money to do that? And that will likely make the difference in this campaign.
One element you've also mentioned in the past as well, Hank, is that Mamdani very, very heavily on social media. And he is a TikTok star in so many ways, with all these videos that have gone viral. Sure. And then you have former Governor Cuomo, who is kind of running the same sort of race he perhaps would have run even decades ago. Do you think that that's a winning way to go about capturing the people that he needs to capture in order to put him over that threshold?
Well, Mamdani is running a campaign that worked in the primary and got him over the line. There's no question about that. And Andrew Cuomo is running a kind of primary that will get him the older voters. This is about older voters versus younger voters and turnouts. Mamdani targeted people who are less likely to vote and did very well with them. Andrew Cuomo is looking at people who are more likely to vote in hopes that he will win them. It's a reasonable strategy. The question is what works. We don't know. But the internet is not going to have a lot of bearing on people over 40, and average voters are likely to be older than not.
Certainly in that general election, too, which is such a great point. As we wrap up here with this conversation, Hank, what do we expect? What are some of the tea leaves we should be looking for as we're now 2 months away?
Again, Mamdani needs not to make a single mistake. Andrew Cuomo has got to run that campaign as if he's talking to people over 40 all the time. And Eric Adams needs to make a mea culpa and stress his record of accomplishment, which is crime's down, things are better. He made a couple of mistakes, but so what? That's his argument. And Curtis Sliwa, a nice fellow who loves New York, but really should be a patriotic New Yorker and drop out.
And rapid, this is the last one, but because it popped into my head, you mentioned the Sliwa element of this, and I haven't really talked about President Trump. The headlines last week about maybe offering these positions or some way to get Sliwa and Adams to step aside. Do you think there is any likelihood that that would happen, that the president would have some sort of influence to clear the deck for Cuomo?
Absolutely not. I think that was a great move by the Cuomo campaign to put everybody off balance. I would have done the same thing, frankly, in a campaign, create chaos and hope it benefits you. But nobody's going any place thus far. These guys are very much committed, and they all have reasonable places to start from. This is going to be a very complicated race, and there will be something crazy that happens. It's the nature of New York politics.
And we'll be watching along the way. Hank Sheinkopf, always great to chat with you.
Thank you.
So much changing in this race for mayor. We know it's happening every day, the developments, what you need to know. So stay up to date with all of the Eyewitness News updates right here at ABC-7 NY for the race for New York City Mayor. I'm Mike Marza. Have a great one.